to the next one. On to the next one. Check microphone. Check 1, 1, 2.
Welcome back to Joyfully Married After.
Here we go.
What are we talking about today? You ready? You got to clear your throat. You got to drink your water. You got to get ready. Thank you for joining us again. We just want to say thank you for watching us. Thank you for joining us. It's got lipstick on it, baby.
That's all right. I'm strong in my manhood.
Here we go. You ready?
Yeah, we appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
We don't take you for granted.
No, we don't. You could be listening to other things.
Or watching something else. How are you? And how's your relationship? This is the Joyfully Married After Podcast, episode 50.
Very good, baby. Okay. Ready, babe?
Let's do it. Hey, baby.
Hello, love.
Talking about you. Talking about your marriage.
Your well-being.
How are you?
How is your marriage?
Those are the questions of the day. So this is what we're going to get into today. Question of the week is also going to be on the docket.
Cheating. I cheated. Help me.
And the last subject of the day will be doing it, and doing it well.
Speak up.
Doing it, and doing it well.
Tell them what you want.
Doing it, and doing it well.
Okay. All right. Here we go. That was fun, baby.
So let's talk about it.
Okay.
What is well-being? It's a measuring the psychological health for both individuals, plus caution flags.
Caution flags, y'all.
As well as the emotional health of your marriage together.
It's two different things.
Two separate things.
It's you and your relationship.
You. How you doing?
And then how's the relationship doing? There's two different sides to that. Right? So why does it matter?
Because there's probably some connectivity to those things.
You think so? It's a health thing. We watch what we eat. We watch ourselves spiritually. We watch our finances. We want to make sure all of those things are healthy. So, of course, we need to make sure that our marriage is healthy.
So it matters because your relationship can only be as healthy as you and your partner are.
Okay, I like this quote. I'm going to read it, baby.
Read the quote, baby. Tell the people what it says.
To say it another way, if a person tries to build intimacy with another person before they've gotten healthy on their own, the relationship becomes an attempt to complete themselves. And that's a setup for misery in marriage. And that's Kai's and a Ryff.
Yeah, I think that makes so much sense, right? It's the concept of two broken people coming together to try to create one person, or try to the two become one in spiritual matrimony. And if both people are broken, it's not going to work, right? So two half people can't come together and make a whole person. It's not that kind of math when you're talking about marriage.
Or if I'm broken in some kind of way, I can't fulfill that emptiness, or I can't fix myself by merging myself with another person.
Because one of the things that we do in marriage is that we help one another.
Right.
So if you're going to help me, you need to be whole. You need to be complete. You need to be healthy.
So when you want to check your well-being, you're looking at your self-awareness, your self-concept of yourself,
Very important.
Your maturity level, your empathy level, and your independence level.
Very important topics, right? So you got to have some self-awareness, understand you if you're good or if you're not good. If you're not good, get some help.
Positive self-esteem.
It's very important, right? So you have to check yourself, make sure that you have, if you have some self-esteem issues, then work on that. Talk to somebody.
Ask yourself, who am I? And ask yourself, do I like myself? You know, you've got to have a healthy concept of yourself.
Very important.
And you've got to understand that if those gaps are missing, you need to get help. You need to fix that before you try to get with somebody else, y'all. And I want to reiterate this because there's so much of this going on. It's like, I need something else, but it's not another person to fill that, right? You have to get right with yourself. Let's talk about maturity.
Yeah, but I wanted to pause on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So when you talk about being good yourself, right? When you're a single person, that's when you have the time and the bandwidth to be able to really dig down deep and explore what's happening with you, right? So if it's getting to know yourself better, if it's some self-awareness that you need to go on a journey, if you need to travel, if you need to maybe volunteer more at your church, whatever it is that you need to do. When you're single, that's the time to do it.
Yeah,
because that's when you have the most time. And so make sure that before you get into a relationship, before you get deep into connecting with someone else and intertwining your life with theirs, and the things that go along with being in a healthy relationship, make sure that your thing is complete, is whole, is healthy at some point. Okay, go ahead, babe.
Kiss some frogs, I say that because I think women have a tendency to say, okay, the next one that's going to be it. He's going to be it. She's going to be it, whatever. And they get stuck on that. Well, maybe you need to explore a little bit more to get to a place where you know who you are. And then not only know who you are, but like yourself.
Right.
Like yourself. How are you going to pour into someone else and you struggling with yourself?
Yep.
So the next thing is maturity, babe. And I don't think we're talking about just age here.
Right.
I think age is important, but because of experience, of course. But there are many people who are 40 years old ain't mature at all.
Very true.
I think it's important to understand and know how mature you are. Are you ready to do you keep your house clean? I'm just gonna keep it real here, ladies. Do you shower every day? Do you cook? Or do you know how to cook? Yep. And a lot of people would say that's a choice. I don't want to. I don't have to.
Sure. Yeah. The question is not do you have to. The question is, can you do it? Do you have the ability to do it? Are you in the habit of doing it? And so, just because you don't know how to cook, that could be an issue. But if you know how to cook and you're just in the space in your life where you're just not cooking as much, that's one thing. But I don't know how to cook, but I'm looking for a husband, or I don't know how to cook, but I'm looking for a wife. That could be problematic.
Yeah, I mean, you got to eat. Let's just keep it. You got to eat. Unless you're independently wealthy and you have a chef, you got to eat. And can we eat out every night? Can we eat out every night? Should we eat out every night?
Probably not.
You're going to be big, unhealthy, and broke. I'm just saying. And the grocery store has so many easy options now.
So many.
It's so much fun to go to the grocery store now. I don't have to buy all the different stuff unless I want to cook something from scratch.
Meal prepared.
And I'm just using this as an example of maturity because I think it's one that everyone can relate to. How clean is your house?
Right.
Can you invite? Can Mama show up? Well, let's keep Mama out of this.
Yeah, don't bring Mama.
Can someone show up?
Yep.
In your space? Okay. Yep. If you share with other people or what in your space?
Sure.
And sit down.
Right.
Do they have a place to sit?
Are you embarrassed by it, or are you good? Is the place clean? Now, I'm not saying are you good, and even though it's a mess, it's a train wreck, the bathroom's dirty, it's clothes everywhere on the floor, and the bed hadn't been made, and so you being good with that says something about your self-awareness and your maturity as a person, right? You're not a teenager.
And these are small things, guys. But the stuff that we're bringing up that's small.
So if somebody comes into your space, to your point, are you comfortable with that? Are you good? Or is there a problem? It's like, oh, give me a second. Let me throw this, and you throwing stuff under the bed and the closet and whatever.
And if it's just that one time, that's different. But if it's always like that, you need to reevaluate. Yeah. You need to reevaluate if you're even ready for another person. Can you even make room for another person?
Sure.
What about self-awareness around the time that you spend with your significant other as opposed to your boys or your girls or whatever? What about that?
Yeah, I think that certainly is a process, right? And so I think there's a communication piece that goes with that.
Exactly.
That when you go from being single to being married, you have to have boundaries and have expectations around what that looks like, right?
I think we talked about that today, didn't we, baby?
We did talk about that today. Yeah. Because what happens is you are accustomed to doing things in a certain way. Hey, I kick it with my boys, and we do this, and we go smoke cigars, and we go to the club, and we might go to the strip joint or whatever it is. And so once you become married,
the strip joint,
guys do that. Guys do that.
Well, what does that mean?
The point is, I'm saying single activity with your boys.
But you just rolled off your tongue.
Because that's what boys do. So your single activity with your boys may need to be abridged when you get married.
Well, let's give them the example.
So
when we got married, we were talking about this today. When we got married, and we had a young baby, He would go out.
Mm-hmm.
He would go out. I would be home with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
He would be at work or he would be at school or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say, baby, I'm going to hang out with so and so. Is just to let you know. I'd be like, okay, cool. And I think the healthiness of our marriage was attributed to our maturity.
Yeah.
My maturity around I didn't come at him.
Right.
Who you gonna be with? Where y'all going? I don't know. I don't like him. You need to be home. I've been here all day. I didn't do all of that.
Right. And at the same time, I also got some wise counsel as we got into our marriage, right? In those early years. I also got some wise counsel from one of my family members that really began to talk with me about when it's appropriate to do those kinds of things and when it's not. And the counsel that I received really was around me taking care of the things that I needed to take care of. And so I think that you can't have one without the other in terms of being in a healthy relationship. So the counsel I received was, hey, make sure that this is buttoned up and this is done. Hey, make sure the kids are in order and they're set and they're ready for bed and they're over here. Make sure that the kitchen is in order. Hey, if there's something to do with the bill, if there's something to run an errand or something you need to do with your wife, make sure those things are all buttoned up. Now I can pivot to you and say, hey, babe, I'm going to go hang out with the boys for 2 or 3 hours. We're going to go over here and I'll be over there and I should be back around this time.
Well, that's cool.
Right? And so there's a correlation. There's a responsibility. As a married man, I think as you get older in your marriage and more mature in your marriage, some of the things that you might do at 22 and 24 may be very different at 30, 35, and so forth. And so the point is that you learn.
Depends on where,
so the
where
point
you
is
are.
that you learn these things as you get older, as you mature, as you get more mature in your marriage, and then you understand, hey, even if I'm kicking it with my boys and that's kind of a normal thing for me, sometimes what you discover as a married man is that there are certain situations and certain scenarios that I put myself in because I was kicking it with my single boys that I shouldn't have been in because I'm a married man.
Right.
And so it's just that
it's a learning. It's a learning process.
That's exactly right. And so you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you just get better and better with those things.
You get better and better. And then how do you practice being married if you don't practice being married? It's like when you're married, or a young married person, you're not going to just all of a sudden go lock yourself up with your husband or your wife. So you have to know how to act and how to respond in those situations where you're like, oh, maybe this is a little weird right here. I shouldn't really be doing this, Yeah. And then it's something that you recognize, and that is due to your maturity.
Correct.
Next one is empathy.
Empathy, yeah.
The person's capacity to see the world from their partner's perspective.
It's so important with marriage, right? And we talked about this with our Marriage Intelligence series too. Empathy is a big component of that. And you have to make sure, because what happens is we see things through our lens, we see things through our world, and especially if you've been single for a long time and you get into a relationship, it's so important that you remove yourself from your body, from your mind, place yourself in your mate's space. Look at the situation through their lens. Take a deep breath and try to see things through their perspective. And when you do that, then you'll discover, oh my gosh, I never even thought about it that way. Oh my gosh, I never even thought that I should approach a situation differently than the way that I always approach it, because it's always been about you. I don't want to do this. I want to do that. I prefer to do this, so I'm not going to do that. That's how you look at it, right? And so we have this kind of natural selfishness approach about our lives when that's perfectly fine when you're single.
I think a little selfishness is good in your marriage, and we'll get to that one next. Mm-hmm. But what we're talking about now is empathy.
Right.
And within that, you have to just very simply put yourself in their shoes.
Correct.
It's very simple.
Yep.
And if you don't ever do that, that needs to be checked.
Sure.
It's not always about you.
Yep.
And in order to live with someone else, you have to love them where they are. And that's empathizing with them, not for them, with them.
And if you have a really good marriage and a really good self-awareness, when you deploy empathy, you'll discover that if you make it all about that other person, then that will be reciprocated, and you'll be astonished at how much better your marriage goes.
I agree, baby. That's very good. And the next one is independence, the person's individuation from their parents. So, in other words, just because my mom did such and such, I doesn't mean I'm going to do it like that. And I think that's very important to your well-being, your psychological health, because some of us came from weird homes, and you don't want to continue that. And this is where your caution flags come in. If you're struggling with anger, where did that come from? Anxiety, is there something that came from your childhood as far as your anxiety? Depression, addiction, I'm gonna go ahead and name them all. Stress, an eating disorder, your body image, suspicions, you don't trust people, sexual promiscuity, pornography, physical illness. Some people just live in that and accept that as a part of their life. Sometimes we call them hypochondriacs.
Sure.
Or if they're physically ill, there's something there, just so you know. Abuse between your parents, that is a red flag, okay? Abuse by someone, any type of abuse, and then any current abuse that's going on in the relationship. Those are all red flags. Oh, another thing, annoying habits get under their skin, and unrealistic expectations around the relationship, around the marriage.
Yeah, we all bring baggage into a relationship, right? And so we all have a paradigm, things that we've experienced in our past. And so we have to recognize when we're leaning on our spouse, our significant other, to fill these gaps that we may have had from the past. And so we have to be cognizant of being independent, being an independent thinker and understanding, having the self-awareness to say, hey, maybe I have some work that I need to do in this particular area, and that's what it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about the partnership well-being, the marriage well-being, the relationship well-being. And I think it's important to discuss the longevity of your relationship.
Longevity.
Have you been together not enough long, not long enough, or too long? Why you laugh, baby?
What do you mean by that?
So how long you, like, I've known, like, we didn't know each other that long.
Nope.
You know, before we made it permanent.
Right.
But the thing about it is some people latch on to other people like within a week.
Sure.
And then one person is like, I'm good with this, and we gonna do this.
Right.
But you didn't do enough to establish the relationship.
You got to get another person. You got to ask some questions.
Right. Because if you don't do certain things early on, it's going to affect, it's going to affect the overall dynamic of the relationship. And then the other part of it is if you've dated a long time and you still haven't gotten to a certain level, or if it's kind of stagnated, or if there's like really not been a commitment.
It's time to have some conversations.
It's time to have some conversations around that, because what happens is one of you becomes disillusioned with what's going on. And even if you do move toward commitment, there's some baggage that you've both created there.
Yeah. So you have to talk through those things and understand, hey, are we going to move forward together, or do we need to have an adult conversation and begin to go different ways?
Now, I will say the longer that you've dated, the more likely your marriage or your relationship is on good standing and will last.
Sure.
And, vice versa, the shorter time period you dated, the more likely it's going to be more difficult to stay together.
Yeah, that can be extenuating circumstances, just depending on what the situation is. Maybe there were some long distance things. Maybe you were both students and you dated like for 4 years through college or whatever it is, and now you're adults and you're trying to build a life before you get married.
It's a lot of different reasons.
Lots of different scenarios it could be, right?
But when you've been in a relationship too long,
then it's time to do something.
It's time to do something.
Yeah.
When my mom said, get off the pot or piss.
Wow.
Is that not good to say? I can say that.
It's a family show.
I can say that.
You can say it, baby, but it's still a family show.
So the next relationship well-being check would be trust. And trust is the confidence that you have in each other and in your relationship.
So important.
Ooh, child. We probably get more questions around trust than any other question.
Yeah, we did some video content around trust, and we have some other things that we're working on connected to trust. But certainly that's the foundation of any relationship, and it's uber important.
Yeah. So always check that trust factor. If there's a lot of jealousy, there's a reason for that. Where did it originate? Did the person do something? And if you find that there is a trust issue in your relationship, it needs to be focused on like a laser beam.
Absolutely.
It needs to be put on the pedestal of all, if you want to stay in that relationship.
Right.
And it really needs to be given credit. And you need to have a whole different conversation if there is a trust issue in your relationship.
That is correct.
The next one is stability, the quality of your relationship.
Yes.
So how do you think about that, baby?
Yeah, so the relationship being stable, I think it starts with the trust, right? So the foundation, one of the foundational things certainly is the trust. And if you have trust in the relationship, now that gives you a pillar, right? And so we think pillar that's stable. So I think that the trust is very key in creating the stability. But then just the expectation and understanding that, hey, this person that I'm with is reliable. They are dependable. If I say, hey, can you stop by the store and bring home some spaghetti because I want to cook? And then I come home and it's every time she asks me, it's like, oh, I forgot, baby. I'm sorry. It's like, dude, you're not very dependable, right? And so now the stability becomes questioned. And so when you see these things, those things can arise.
So you probably are pretty stable if you, like he said, you're being consistent, you're being reliable, you are dependable, and you don't have a lot of conflict.
Right.
You've negotiated some things and you've compromised some things.
Yep.
So this means you're probably in a pretty stable situation.
Yep.
Now, what are some things about you're not that stable?
What's the question?
If you're not that stable, what are some characteristics?
Oh, okay. So, you're going to see a lot of conflict. You're going to have some turbulence happening in the relationship. You're going to see these kinds of things that are connected to the negotiation and communication within the relationship. You're never on the same page. And so all of these things are creating shifts, kind of an undercurrent. If you think about an earthquake.
Yep, I think that's
the earth is moving underneath those plates. They're going side to side, and it's not stable ground.
Or even like a virus, huh? Like you might have a little sniffle or something. Next thing you know, you in the bed.
It's a symptom, and then boom.
It's like, oh, I can't get out of bed. It's the same thing. Viruses kind of creep up on you.
Yeah.
Instability in your relationship it's creeping up on you if you're not paying attention to it. You have to always be constantly thinking about it.
Always.
Another characteristic of relationship well-being is similarity, the number of core values that a couple has in common.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, baby.
So I don't know. I'm just kind of about this one.
Well, I think if you think about it in the context of our relationship,
opposites attract.
That's not what I was going to say.
But I'm saying that's what I think. When I think about core common values, I think we have to be very, very descriptive here because opposites attract.
Yes, opposites do attract, but I think that's really connected more so to personality characteristics and those kinds of things. But when you talk about core values, right? What are our religious values? What are our spiritual practices?
Political, maybe?
What are our politics? What are our family values? What was your family like? What was mine like? What do we like to do together or apart? Are we into sports? Are we into...
Am I not?
This? Are we into that? And so I think when you talk about core values, it's kind of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you have a few things in common, you need to work on that. And you need to be aware. Yep. If you are in love with a couch potato, but you're an adventure person, there's going to be some issues there. If you're into somebody that's a homebody, but you like to be gone all the time, that's going to present some problems. So the higher the similarity, the better. Yep. Like for the most part, Heath and I are alike. Yep. We had the same kind of value system. And, as far as religion, as far as political views, as far as what we thought about being married and having relationships, we had similar views. But a lot of things were opposites.
Very true.
But you have to figure out, is it high or is it low or is it kind of in the middle? And you got to figure out what can you live with and what you can't live with. It's very, very important to have similar characteristics, but, make sure that they're gonna work all the way through.
Did we talk about longevity?
We can talk about longevity.
No, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, we did. We talked about longevity. We said if you've been together a short period of time, it might be a problem. If you've been together a long period of time, it might be a problem.
We did. Right.
So we did talk about that.
So those are the four kind of keys that we wanted to touch on there, right? Longevity, trust, stability, and similarity.
Right. And then it's important to remember that your well-being is just as important as your relationships well-being. And there are things that you need to think about with both.
That's actually why I got this hat on right here.
What is that hat?
It's actually
Everybody can't see your hat, baby. We're on a podcast. You have to describe your hat.
I have on this cool golf hat, but it's an Under Armour hat. And so when I got ready to do this podcast, I thought to myself, I'm going to put this on because when Under Armour first came out with their big marketing concept, the terminology was, we must protect this house.
Oh, I don't get it.
So this is what we're talking about, protecting our marriage house.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
See? You got to take care of yourself, and then you got to protect your marriage.
You're such a deep thinker, my love.
There you go. No.
See, we opposites, y'all. I never would have come up with all that from a hat.
Are we going to get into the next section, baby?
Q&A, y'all.
We're going to talk about our question of the week.
What is it this week?
All right, let me read it. It says, hey, y'all, good stuff. I think this is also from a YouTube subscriber.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I guess they watched one of our videos. And they said, hey, y'all, good stuff. I just
about trust. I think this one's about trust. I'm sorry.
This is a trust one?
Yeah.
Okay, see, that makes perfect sense because it was one of the things that we talked about in this podcast was trust. Hey, y'all, good stuff. I just told my girlfriend that I cheated on her in March and September of last year.
What?
He got the sad face.
Oh, my God.
He's got the sad face like this. Oh, gosh.
But something bizarre happened?
She received a DM on Instagram from some woman saying, I'm currently sleeping with her. And recently, which is completely 100% false.
Oh, my God.
So obviously, admitting to my actual offense completely discredits my word. And I understand that. But I want to know how to fight this false accusation while still taking accountability for what I actually did. Oh, I'm shaking my head.
Also,
when is a good time to check in on her?
Oh, so she's not talking to him.
I want to give her some space, but I also want to let her know that I'm still here and available for her.
Wow. Take a deep breath. Okay, brother.
All right. So, obviously, I think that he wanted to be forthcoming with her and say, hey, I slipped up. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't in the right headspace. I cheated on you. I cheated on you again. But you know what? I ain't doing that no more. Okay. I've decided I'm into you. I'm good with you. I wanna make this work. I wanna make this work long term. So I ain't messing with nobody right now. It's just me and you. Bling. And then she get the DM. He's sleeping with me right now.
Okay, so I don't believe you.
He's
I'm
like,
sorry.
No.
I'm just gonna go ahead.
Like, I'm not sleeping with her.
I'm gonna put it out there. I don't believe you.
Oh my gosh.
And I know that's a tough one. There's no reason for a woman to DM your woman and say,
well, maybe she's scorned. Maybe he dealt with her a long time ago, or maybe he's flirting with her via social. You don't really know what.
I wish y'all could see my face.
You don't really know what the extenuating circumstances are.
And the woman scorn thing, I know it's real, but it's not real.
No,
real,
what I'm saying is, if you want to take him at his word, he's saying he told her that he cheated on her twice, and he told her that he's not dealing with anybody right now, and he told her, well, the inference is he's trying to deal with just her right now.
So I'm gonna take it from his point of view. If I were you, I would leave her alone.
Okay.
I would leave her alone. I would give her space. Mm-hmm. And if you love her, I didn't hear that. But if you love her and you want to be with her, I didn't hear that either.
Right.
That you tell her that.
That's
and you show her that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But nothing else.
Right.
We're done with trying to prove that we're not lying. It's just, that's a tough one. You have lied. Mm-hmm. You continue to lie.
Trust is broken.
The trust is broken. Mm-hmm. So you have to sit back and just give. And hopefully you'll break that down. With no expectations. But I'm going to tell you right now, that thing about the size of Hoover. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty big. Good luck. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure. What would you suggest he do?
To your point, there's the woman obviously has been tremendously hurt, and then it's been exacerbated by this latest direct message that she received about him being with somebody else.
It doesn't matter if it's true or not at this point.
Right. And so I think at the end of the day, he has to move on mentally from this woman. And he also has to begin to do some self-reflection about where he is in his life and what he wants to do and how he wants to move forward and really work on himself. And that way, whether or not this woman comes back around to him at some point or another woman comes to him, then he's in a better mental space to be able to go through some of the things that we talked about today around stability, having some trust where they can have trust with him, which will set him up for longevity. And hopefully they'll have some similarities in their background. So the point is, work on yourself, and then you'll be ready for a long-term relationship when that time comes.
Yeah, and I think it's to point out that the guys, women have a tendency to not want to deal with you anymore after situations like this because they feel like they're devaluing themselves. And they feel like, I love him and I get it, but I'm going to devalue myself if I take him back. So, and that's just hard to get through. We have to think about ourselves first in some cases. And in this case, I don't blame her. I don't blame her. And the woman DMing her really doesn't have anything to it. Have to do. It's almost like the straw that broke the camel's back. And if you believe like I believe, the path of least resistance is to go the other way.
So move on, get yourself in order, and everything will be okay.
Continue to love on her. Continue to be nice to her. Continue to be kind to her. But definitely give her space, and maybe she'll come back around. I'm so sorry.
Okay, let's talk about doing it.
Doing it. I don't do it like you.
I know, baby.
Do it like, go ahead, baby.
Doing it well. What are we talking about? So I think the concept is very simple in this doing it well segment. Speak up. So when you're talking about getting satisfaction from your relationship and your marriage, you have to be verbal, be communicative about what it is that you like. What I want you to do, what I like, you got to tell them. Otherwise, they won't know.
But what about people that don't know how to do that? They grew up a certain way, or they're not very experienced. I don't think it's just easy just to say, just tell them.
What they say in Color Purple? We's married now. Did they say
well, what if you're not married? What if you're working? I know people out there, don't get it twisted. People out there having sex and they're not married yet, and they're moving toward that. So what I think, let me give you some ideas, guys. How about lighting a candle? Okay. And to show some, okay, I'm feeling amorous. How about hopping in the shower with them, right?
Yeah, but I think your question was, what do you do if you are not communicative and you don't know how to convey what you want?
But that's everything. I think that's around when you're ready. I think it's a little bit of both.
No, I'm saying, was that your question?
No, it's tell them what you want under no uncertain terms. Speak up. That's all we're talking about. Speak up when it comes to sex.
Right.
So speak up when you want to have sex.
Yep.
Speak up when you don't want to have sex.
Amen.
Speak up on how you want to have sex. Speak up on where you want to have sex.
Speak on it.
How you want to have sex.
You got to speak up.
Who you want to have sex with?
You got to speak up.
So I'm just saying, what about people who don't know how to speak up? Yeah, people tell them that all the time. Speak up. Tell them what you want. Okay, I don't know how to do that. So what do I do? Okay. And I was just suggesting other things.
So you like paint by the numbers. Hey, I got the candles going. I got the music playing. Barry White's on. Yeah.
That's pretty good, baby.
Right. And so what you're doing is you're painting the picture. It's like, I don't have to say it. Okay, I got this negligee on or whatever they wear these days. I got the candles paint. I got the music playing. I got the lights dimmed. Or I got the lights out. Whatever it is.
It could be a lot of things. It could be a certain meal you cook for him or her that night. That's like the signal.
Oh.
Y'all can have like a signal.
Oh.
So baby, when I do this, that means I'm feeling it.
Okay. But see, that's communicating it though.
But I'm saying some people can't say it.
Yeah, but you have to say that beforehand to cook, so he know what's happening when you cook the meal, right?
Yeah, or you got to figure it out.
Right.
It's several ways to communicate. It's not just through speech.
That's right.
Are we going in circles here?
The first rule.
I know Mercury's in retrograde, but can we figure out? Are you understanding me? I'm not understanding you.
The first rule of communication is that one cannot not communicate.
There you go.
So if the music is on, if the dinner is on the table, if the candles are lit, she's saying something. Well, he's saying something.
They saying something.
Somebody's saying something.
I mean, I know all of heat signals. But you know what, baby? I don't give you signals, do I? I kind of do.
Every now and then, but most of the time, no. Most of the time, no.
I have to work on that.
I just know you.
Oh. But that's what I'm saying. It's a signal.
Yeah, but you don't give signals.
I don't give signals?
You have some faint signals.
I have signals.
They're very faint, though.
Are they too faint? I think they too faint sometimes.
Maybe they are too faint, baby.
Oh, Lord. Okay. See, y'all,
Sidebar.
even after 30 years, you still working on stuff.
We have to have a sidebar.
Yeah, we'll be working on that. Trust and believe.
Oh,
so,
man.
in this episode, we talked about what? We talked about the well-being of your marriage and yourself, how important it is.
There you go. How to get to longevity, trust, stability, and similarity. We talked about what to do when someone is cheated and having a broken trust scenario. And we talked about speaking up when it comes to sexual fulfillment in your relationship or your marriage. And there you go.
There you go.
Podcast complete. We just want to say stay connected, guys. Stay connected to God. Stay connected to your family. And stay connected to your spouse.
Or your significant other.
We love you. Talk to you soon. HeathenTracy.com.